Okay, I found a place where the grass has been cut, so there's significantly less bugs. There are yellow jackets, but I've been keeping an eye on them, and I think we'll just be chilling, doing our separate things. I don't think I'm like in their space too much. Also, it took me forever to set up for this, and it made me think about how I had a coach when I was a teacher ask me if I was a perfectionist, and I was like, no way. Like, I just want things to be done quickly. And that is mostly true, but, and like this still isn't perfect, like I'm tilted on this hill, whatever. But yeah, that's something that's been stopping me from like putting art out into the world, is that I do want it to be perfect. So I am a perfectionist sometimes, but I also just struggle with like completing things all the way. And I get really excited about an idea at first, and then I don't do it for a while sometimes. Anyway, so we're back in the park. The idea is basically it's alive, but you guys can't be here because I don't have enough followers yet, so you'll just watch it later. But it'll be like a whole set with talking in between. Yeah, cool. The first one I'm gonna do is it's also just so beautiful out here. Like, I'm getting distracted listening to the birds and the nature and stuff. I'm gonna do It Isn't Nice because I didn't get to do that one earlier, and I like it a lot. And I might actually need the words for that one because it's a newer one for me. It's a Malvina Reynolds song. I'm pretty obsessed with Malvina Reynolds. She was this woman who came up to Pete Seeger at one of his concerts and was like, hey, I've been writing all these songs about the world and about politics and everything. Do you want to hear them? And he was like, yeah. And she was in her 60s, and she had written over 200 songs at that point about various things, and they're all really beautiful. I'll do 2 of hers for you today. And I'll start with this one. It isn't nice to block the doorway. It isn't nice to go to jail. There are nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways always fail. It isn't nice, it isn't nice. You told us once, told us twice, but if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. Whoa. It isn't nice to carry banners, or to sit in on the floor, or to shout our cry of freedom at the hotel and the store. It isn't nice, it isn't nice. You told us once, you told us twice, but if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. Whoa. We have tried negotiations and the 3-man picket line. Mr. Charlie didn't see us, and he might as well be blind. So our new ways aren't nice, but when we deal with men of ice, and if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. Whoa. Whoa. How about those years of lynchings and the shot in Ever's back? Did you say it wasn't proper? Did you stand up on the track? No, you were quiet just like mice, and now you say that we're not nice. But if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. Whoa. nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways always fail. It isn't nice, it isn't nice. Well, thanks for your advice, but if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. Oh, we don't mind. Yeah, so that's It Isn't Nice. And a little note on the lyrics, when it's talking about they lynched folks and, sorry, the bugs are getting closer now. The first one is Mr. Charlie didn't see us, and Mr. Charlie is an old pejorative for like any random white guy standing in your way. Lots of those around these days, you know? And a 3-man picket line refers to an old rule that they used to have where that was the maximum number of people that could picket outside of a place was 3, which is not very many, as you know, if you're all on strike and only 3 people are picketing. So that's that verse. And they lynch, what about those years of lynchings, and the shot in Evers' back is calling out the reasons that the civil rights movement was happening, like the reasons for these sit-ins and protests and these things that people were claiming, oh, this is so not nice, so improper, is nothing compared to the actual violence that Black people were experiencing all across America at this time. So the original words are, how about those years of lynchings? That also later was changed in other versions to they murdered folks in Alabama, I guess to kind of soften it, but I don't really think it's a time where we need lyrics to be softer than they are. This is still happening today. Trey Reed was found in a tree less than 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks ago now at this point, and that was ruled a suicide somehow. If you don't know the story, please look it up. But this is still happening, and we have to figure out ways to come together and stand with each other and protest in ways that are not nice but are effective while we still can. Because I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news. I hope you have. But Trump just did an executive order yesterday, I believe, where it's claiming that anyone who's anti-capitalist and protesting and like participating in any dissent of any kind pretty much can be prosecuted by secret police, which America was literally founded on the right to protest peacefully and stand up for what you believe in and stand up for yourself. So the fact that the same people who call themselves patriots and say they're defending democracy are agreeing with the dictatorship that's coming into power is something that doesn't make any sense to me. But fear is an extremely effective motivator. And that's something I was talking about with my grandma yesterday, is how manipulation and fear and blaming other people are the same tactics that have been used for centuries to control people and get them to vote for policies that are actually making life worse for them. Yeah. Oh, and the shot in Evers' back, that line, sorry to return to the song for a second, that line is referring to a civil rights leader. I don't have his name written on this paper, his first name, so I'm not going to give one, but his last name was Evers, and he was working to desegregate the University of Mississippi, or maybe Mississippi University. It was in Mississippi when he was assassinated. So also, speaking of violence and assassinations, the way that we decide whose assassination matters as a society is also very predictable based on our history. So that's It Isn't Nice. And I guess we're gonna have some of like my thoughts on the world and what's happening and coping along with the music today while I'm in the woods here. Because this is how I am coping, to be honest, is I'm looking at historically what have people done, and music is a big component of that, because music is a way to share messages that people might not be so receptive to in other settings, such as, for example, this one that I'll share with you now. I hate the capitalist system. And if you have hung out with me recently, or if you've been to any of my choirs and stuff, you'll know like I sing this song often, because to say that you are anti-capitalist is still really controversial with people my grandparents' age, with like my Nina, for example, because she was specifically trained during the Cold War, like nuclear bomb drills, communism is so bad, blah, 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 capitalism will save us, the market is great, everyone's gonna thrive. And I didn't get that heavy of like brainwashing, you know, and like grew up on Tumblr reading things about communism, realized from a pretty young age that our system is only serving the people at the top. So for me, it's really comforting and refreshing to go back to US history and see that before the Cold War, well, a while before that, but basically in the 1930s, there was a huge communist party and movement, and people were organizing, labor was coming together, and that gives me hope that we can maybe undo some of the ideas that people have about capitalism and move forward into a brighter future together. Yay. Sorry if that rant didn't really flow very well, but you know, it's real. It's live. That's what we're doing here today. So this song was written by Sarah Ogan. She was the wife of a miner. And let me see if I have the chord. I do have the chords written down. So I don't know why there's an E flat in it. A7. Okay. Yeah, she was the wife of a miner in Kentucky. This is written based on her real life. She was born in 1910. This was written in 1937. So she was 27 years old, 1 year younger than I am, when she wrote this song. And it's about things she had already experienced in her life at that point. So her husband had died of TB. She'd had a baby die of starvation. There's also a verse that I cut out because it's a kind of long song about how her mother died of a different form of starvation. There's like another old-timey word that she uses for it. Oh my, big bug. But yeah, here's Sarah Ogan's I Hate the Capitalist System.
So much suffering, and my dearest friend
was written all the way back in 1937. And at that time, the labor movement was really, really strong because jobs were horrible. Like working in these coal mines, people were dying all the time of accidents, of black lung, and they could not even survive on the wages that they did have. And sometimes, if you know the history of mining in America, the mines were owned by individuals or huge corporations, and sometimes they would even own the entire town, and people would have to use fake mine money to pay for goods in the town, and that's the only way that they could access the things that they needed to live. And of course, like, the people who owned it were in charge of how much everything cost and how much work you had to do to get things, and they were not incentivized to help people live longer. So yeah, like when I have conversations with older people about how all of our struggles are connected, like the reason that people are afraid and are easy to control and to tell them, like, oh, well, it's immigrants that are taking your job. Oh, well, it's trans people that are gonna degender your child, which that's a whole other thing. But yeah, the reason that people are so afraid is because we are all stuck in a survival state all of the time because of capitalism, because of our system that is set up to exploit people's labor for money. And unions have weakened over time, especially in like the Reagan era, which is something that I need to learn more about personally. I know some stuff, and I'm trying to learn more because that's not the kind of thing that I was ever taught in school. We always got to civil rights. We were taught, wow, it was so great, like there was a little bit of pushback, but like we all knew deep down it was the right thing to do, and then we moved on, and the world has been great since then. At least that's kind of like how I felt in school. We always cut off there. So when I'm learning this history, I'm connecting it through, you know, to see how we are now. And I think where we are now is we're in a very similar place to how they were in the 1930s. Now we have less mining, we have less working in mills and factories and like that kind of industry, but we have our modern versions of that, like Amazon warehouses. And I guess data centers are kind of a different thing because I don't know if it's physically exhausting and demanding to work in a data center. I'll look that up. But, you know, like they're stripping our resources and raising our electricity costs. And there's a very small amount of people with all the power and all the money. And that's why we're so ripe for some big guy to come in and say, I have all the answers, listen to me. We'll just start doing horrible, terrible human rights violations all the time, and then somehow your life will be better. I don't know. Yeah, I Hate the Capitalist System by Sarah Ogan. That reminded me of a different song when I was singing it. I also really like the sound of these bugs. I thought they were crickets because I've heard them at night before, but it's day right now. Maybe it's some type of cicada, but not the main, like the big cicada, because that makes a kind of like lower pitch sound, you know? Yeah, also in times like these, go outside if you can, you know, during the day, especially before it's winter. It's really helpful for kind of resetting and remembering what is still good and is always going to be good, which is nature and the natural world. Take your friends outside, that's even better, because then you can remember, like, we will always have community with each other too. So I'm rambling. I will pick our next song. Yeah, we're gonna do some anti-war stuff now, because they're doing some big military announcement next week and like calling in all these generals from different places, and American foreign policy is generally getting pretty hostile and isolationist. So, you know, never hurts to just remember that here's what happens in war. This song is called Found in a Pocket. I learned it from Barbara Dane's Vietnam War songbook, so it's from that era. I don't have that book with me anymore. I returned it to the library because I'm a good citizen. And so I can't tell you who wrote it right now. I'll try and find out. But it's called Found in a Pocket. And I'm gonna practice. I really like because it kind of reminds me of another song called Army's Plea to Mothers. Let me just do that one real quick. I got you here, you're captured. You're just literally on my phone and then on YouTube or something. But yeah, this kind of just like the inherent, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like hypocrisy, kind of, or just like it doesn't make any sense that we try to teach children how to be kind and sensitive and like the qualities that we say that we value. We can't really hold those things to be true if we also believe in war and that some human life is worth more than other human life, which to me is what war is and is what capitalism is. You know, I don't think that there's any reason that someone who is unhoused on the street and has like addiction stuff going on is any less deserving of life than, you know, a politician. And so, yeah, kind of went off topic there. Here's Army's Plea to Mothers, and then I'm gonna conclude with, I believe, another Malvina Reynolds. Army's Plea to Mothers, I'm pretty sure, I cannot remember her name right now, but it's an Australian song, and it was written by this woman who, I can't remember her name, but she had like a satirical political show in Australia, and she wrote it when Australians got involved in the Vietnam War. So yeah, Army's Plea to Mothers. Okay, I think I got it. Oh. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Please don't bring him up to be sensitive. Don't bring him up to be kind. Don't bring him up to believe that a man can use his heart and autonomy mind. When it comes to twisting a bayonet or sticking it in the boot, he'll find it so much easier if you bring him up as a brute. So teach him how to see the world at the Commonwealth's expense. Teach him that hating civilians is essential to our defense. Teach him to hate every foreign name, each color, race, and tongue, for he'll make a happier soldier if you brutalize him young. Yes, he'll make a happier soldier if you brutalize him young. Yeah, so see how that one's on a similar note? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do my favorite song, which is I Believe by Malvina Reynolds. I learned this song from the Sing Out publication. You can find it archived online. And that was a, I guess like magazine, periodical, I'm not really sure what the right word is, that Pete Seeger and, I'm just gonna say that crew, there's many others, and he may have not actually been the leader of it, but I know he was involved, like Woody Guthrie, like that crowd, published this magazine, or this pamphlet called Sing Out, that was like people could submit folk songs that they had written, and then they would be distributed every, you know, however often the publication went out to people who subscribed. so people could learn these songs all across the country. And number one, I think that's just a really beautiful way of sharing music and not having it be this thing that like you want to own. It's my song. It's like releasing it to the world so that everyone can put their own spin on it. And it's also just a really cool historical artifact, and you can find it online. Sing Out, look it up. You can find scans and stuff. So yeah, here's Malvina Reynolds, I Believe. I believe, I believe, I believe this war is wrong, so how can I go along? I believe, I believe, I believe, yes, I believe. I believe, I believe, they have no right to be there, dropping death down from the air. I believe, I believe, I believe, yes, I believe. I believe, I believe that the world is asking why, and a bomb is no reply. I believe, I believe, I believe, yes, I believe. I believe, I believe that the power of love is strong and the power of arms is wrong. I believe, I believe, I believe, yes, I believe. I believe, I believe that war is out of date, so is poverty and hate. I believe, I believe, I believe, yes, I believe. I believe, I believe, you believe just as you please. I must do what my heart says, for I believe, I believe, I believe, yes, I believe. Yeah, I think that one is so beautiful because of the way that she ties everything together. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that my beliefs are controversial. And, oh, hey, Yellow Jacket. And I guess no one thinks their beliefs are controversial. But when I'm saying things like, all children deserve to eat food, and I don't think that children should die in war, and I believe that everyone should have health care, even if they don't work 40 hours a week. I believe that it is more important to take care of people than it is to grow the economy and make money. I believe that the stock market only benefits a very small portion of Americans, or maybe, you know, it benefits more people through like retirement funds and things like that. But like, surely there's a better system that we can come up with that doesn't rely on the exploitation of human life. Anyway, yeah, that song brings me a lot of comfort because it's nice to know that other people see the world very simply and have the same beliefs that I do and have for a very long time. So this is Singing in the Woods for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. I know I kind of rambled, but I didn't make a plan because it's supposed to be just like hanging out. And this is what I'm obsessed with right now, is folk music and playing the auto harp. If you notice that my auto harp is out of tune, you're right, because I lost my tuner and I also lost my finger picks, so I'm getting some like crazy calluses now, which feels cool. And I also, if anybody is like a voice teacher or anything, if you notice the weird like flippy gravelly thing my voice is doing, it didn't used to do that. So hopefully everything's fine there. I have been a teacher I was a classroom teacher for like 6 years, and that's really bad for your vocal health because it's a lot of yelling and a lot of working while you are sick. We're gonna have to do a whole other session about school and education, because I've got some songs for you about that and certainly some storytelling to do. Okay, I'm Olivia, thanks for listening. Go help somebody today and think about what you believe at the most basic level, and see if there's maybe a way that like we could get these things like universally acknowledged. Because if we're all scared of the same things, like being poor and dying, maybe we can come together to solve those problems in a different way. I don't know. Okay. Bye.